Alrighty, what is going on, brother? We got a couple of these videos that you sent over. We're going to analyze them a little bit. Now, they are all of the same angle, which is going to limit kind of like what we can talk about. Since you didn't have the chance to send me the ones from Face On, I can't give you a super in-depth breakdown, but we'll go over a handful of things. This video will kind of just be pointing out all the problems, and then I'll send you drills to target the problems that I point out. But before we get going on this free lesson, because it's free, I just ask that people subscribe to the YouTube channel that you're watching this video on. So make sure that you're subscribed to that. That helps me out so much. Just instead of paying for lessons, that's just what I ask for instead. So appreciate that. Let's get on with this breakdown. So the reason why that other angle is helpful is because it gives me a look at your grip. And grip is a really good place to start. I can't tell because your video is a little bit blurry. It looks like you're doing a little interlock grip here, so that's good for the most part. I just can't quite tell what your hands are doing. It looks like your grip is all right. So let's move on to the next thing, is your takeaway. So I want you to take a look at just how your club looks. Now, we're not even about halfway up the swing, but right now your club face is so shut, like your face is really, really closed. So that is going to cause you a lot of variability. So that would be the first thing that I want to point out is your takeaway. The face is really shut, and about halfway up, it's just like dead closed. So we want that toe to be more facing straight up towards the sky and that face to be a little bit more open. And then the next thing I would point out is it's very what we call inside. You have a very inside takeaway. So I'll show you what I mean. I think I actually have a video of myself here. I'm just going to point this out. So my takeaway, I'm working on not being super inside. So I haven't completely mastered it. But this was a video I took today just to kind of point out some things. So I myself have a bit of a shut face, but that's like worked for me because the open face doesn't work so much. I'm doing what's called matching my spine angle. Your face is even like more shut than that, so you're not even matching your spine angle. Sometimes you want to see how this angle is the same as like my spine. You either want that, or if you're struggling with different types of misses, I want you to keep that toe wide open and that toe pointing to the sky and that face open. I'll go over that takeaway video in a second, but yeah, so that's what I would want you to focus on. Maybe a little more like this. If you want to keep it a little more closed, you can match your spine angle, and then I'll go over like takeaway and stuff in that other video. So that's the first thing, is your takeaway is just a little inside. This one looks a little bit better. This one is a little more vertical, and that's what we're trying to get to, is how vertical this swing is. That's good. But there's some other problems in this swing, and it's like the amount of exertion that you're putting on this. It might be because you're at the range and you're trying to swing really hard, but never bring this kind of like swing and tempo onto the course because there's so much variability. You want to be as consistent as possible. So swinging like this, like 120%, which just looks like you're swinging out of your shoes. You have like kind of something similar like this where you're kind of like hopping. So you're like, as you're hitting the ball, you're hopping. That's just telling me that you're swinging really hard. Now we also kind of are seeing this inside takeaway again, but the main problem that I see here is truly just the amount of like how hard you're swinging, because what that's doing is you're starting to do what's called early extension with your hips at impact, and that weight, you're really using the ground, which is good, but you're using it into a point where it's messing up your posture as you're swinging. So I would really focus on, instead of shooting like and hopping off the ground, staying seated more through impact. And basically that's just utilizing your hips. You use them really well on their takeaway and the follow through. Your hips are great, but it's right before you hit the ball. You've got a lot of lag, which is good, but right before you hit the ball, you stand up. So look right here. I'm going to line your bottom up with the left side of my frame. See how right before you hit the ball, your butt kind of comes up away from the up away from the frame there. Your right leg is shooting straight up, and we don't want our right leg to come straight up. We want our lead leg, our left leg, to go straight. This right one can stay kind of bent, and we really want it to just kind of sink in more. So I want you to just take a look at what I mean by that. So I want you to look at my rotation here. See how my right knee isn't coming straight? I'm kind of sitting down through this shot. I'm similar to you in that I've got the club behind me and I have this lag here, but we really do not want to kind of stand up and come out of the shot. We want to stay seated down here and push off the inside of our right foot forwards. But when we push forwards, we want to twist with our hips, not stand straight up. So you can kind of see how I'm staying down here. And after I hit the ball, then I can stand up. But we need to stay seated down to fully utilize the power from the ground that you're doing right here with your feet when you're hopping. Even though it may seem like you're using more power, you're losing a little bit because you're coming off of your right foot. So we want to stay seated down, and we can push off the ground with our left foot while still like staying down, just how you saw mine, just there. Let's watch this again in full. Yeah. So the only other thing I would point out is maybe tempo. It looks like you've got a different tempo for each of your swings. Sometimes it's slower and sometimes it's faster, and that's just what happens when you have like a really like aggressive swing. Your swing is not very like smooth. It's not like smooth back and smooth forward. Like I'm just gonna keep pointing to mine. You can kind of see how it's a little bit slower on the takeaway. We can do like 1, 2, 1. That's not a perfect tempo example. I have a video talking about tempo, but you can see how it's slower and smoother on the way back and then slow and smooth on the way through. That is where I would want you to get. We don't want to be swinging really hard because then we're taking the power away from the club, and that's not what we want. We want to be swinging nice and smoothly because smooth is fast and slow is smooth. So we got to swing a little bit slower to get that smoothness. And by getting smoother, you're going to find the middle of the face a little bit more. So it really is just coming down to you, bro, is just learning how to fix your tempo, slowing it down, and not swinging as hard. And then also at the same time fixing that little moment of early extension. You can kind of see here how you're like standing up. You're like you're very tall at impact. I would want you to kind of stay a little more squatted down and pushing through and twisting your hips. So focusing on that hip rotation and eliminating that early extension. You don't have the textbook definition of early extension, but it's there in like a small amount, and that's why I'm trying to like point it out because it's a little concerning. It also causes you to have your weight on your back foot more, and you kind of throw your hands at the ball as opposed to keeping that angle of compression, and driving it forward. So I'm kind of like breaking it down a little bit too much, honestly, but I would really want you to have a moment where you're not coming super inside on your takeaway with a really shut face. And I would also want you to stay more down on the ball instead of, see how your chest here right before you hit it, this is just pointing out your early extension some more. Right before you hit the ball, see how your chest is moving left, like towards the left side of my frame, and your head is moving backwards? Instead of sitting down, your head moves away from the ball. See how your chest kind of stands up? We want our chest to be a little bit more over it as we're hitting it. That way we can stay on top of the ball and trap it and compress it. So that would be another thing that I would point out and I'd have you work on as well. I think that's going to do it for this video. Let me know what you think. I'm going to send you some other drills, hopefully that target a few things that I pointed out. And again, just make sure you're subscribed to the channel. That helps me out a lot. I appreciate all the support. And yeah, stay tuned for the reviews and collabs we got dropping soon. And we'll talk soon. All right, thanks.